Well, we'll just have to have faith that it's all going to go the way we want it to go.
It will.
How are you? Thanks for the time. I know you're busy and you were up late last night at the marathon session down in Niagara Falls City Council. So
Right, and out drinking after that.
did you?
Oh,
Did you go out with the crew?
I did.
Where did they go after?
We went to Clancy's. It was the only place that would open the kitchen. We were hungry.
And who typically, is it the same crew that goes out every week?
Yeah, it changes, a bit. But we were 10, 14 people. So.
Okay. Do you go to every Niagara Falls City Council?
When I can. Sometimes I have meetings that I have to attend otherwise or other commitments.
Right.
But I like to be there.
And who's the crew that usually goes out? Obviously, Jim's there.
Yes, Jim, Victor, Peter Angelo, Vince Cario, Mike Strange, a lot of the staff.
Really?
Oh,
Staff
yes.
go out too?
Yes.
Are you like me from the standpoint do you think that more work gets done outside the chambers when you're talking over drinks?
Well, more important work.
You think so, eh? Because we go to all these AGMs, political conferences and
Yes.
stuff like that, and you get the plenary and everyone fights and speaks and votes, and then you get out after and you get a couple drinks in you, and all of a sudden
You like everybody.
And you're getting places too. You kind of lose maybe the ego goes away a little bit.
Well, you forget the tribe, and you're just people. That's important.
Tribe. I'm glad you said that. You think that we're becoming more tribal? I mean, we came from tribes. We have a tribe mentality. And I have said for a long time, racism is natural. We're taught to fear different skin colors, different sexual preferences. It's not taught that. We can learn it too, and we can unlearn it as well, but I think it comes naturally from us because when we're in caves and when we're
Yes.
apes or chimps, yeah, they practice war and they don't have religion.
But noticing that someone is different isn't racism.
True enough. I mean, we see all the trouble everyone's getting into right now by saying men and women are different. What?
Imagine,
You sexist,
imagine that.
misogynist.
No, it's not the same as racism. I don't know if we're inborn with racism. We're born with an intellectual process that says that guy is different from me, has different skin and different. His hair is curly and his eyes are blue, whatever the difference is. But I don't think that's racism. I think that's just intelligence.
You think we're getting more that way these days?
More racist?
No, more tribal.
Or more tribal?
I mean, we're certainly, this group identity has certainly become very important for whatever reason. I mean, you're a woman, you're a man.
You're a liberal, you're left, you're right, you're
right.
center.
And these ideological possessions, as I like to call them, because many times, and we talked before we went live here about some of mine that I believed in, and I'm questioning many of them and actually throwing those beliefs out. I'm not the same guy I was in 1993 when I ran the first time when Gib Parent was Speaker of the House.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, but I'm having a hard time with it. So I wonder, this ideological possession I'm really having a hard time with because, God bless him. The guy from USS, Ash Boo Schultz. It's a two-man band.
Right.
And when they play live, Matt Murphy plays drums. He's from St. Catharines. Really good band. They come to Brock University for a live show, and Ash does a one-song tribute to the tragically hip.
Oh, okay.
It was heartbreaking, and he's such a sweet man. Recovering drug addict. Most people don't know this, but just really open about it. And the first time I met him, I'm like, "Did I hear you say you don't party?" He goes, "Yeah, I don't." I said, "Well, dude, all your songs are about crack house arrest. I've been up for 3 days."
So you must have some experience in
He
this
said,
side.
"Dude, yeah, that album, I was cranked, and I'm clean. I've been clean for 2 years." And I'm like, "What's that?" He's got a Tim Hortons cup. He goes, "Organic green tea." I thought I had him.
There you go. No, you didn't.
And he was so open about saying, "You know what? It's everyone hears something different in the music. The Weekend Warriors hear something. The truly addicted hear something. The recovering addicts hear something." Anyways, Ash Boo, I just love those two boys. I love them all. Matt,
Right.
Matt's a good guy too. Jason, the human kebab, Parsons is the DJ, mixes the wax. And he said, there's one thing we all have in common in this room, a heartbeat. And I'm tired of talking about what race you are, what language you speak, what your sexual preference is. how intelligent you are, and grading people and putting them in those groups and fighting to the death to defend a sex ed curriculum, or, you know, a conservative value or a liberal value, a green value, or none of the above. And we forget we are part of a human race. We're all we got more in common than we have differences. Sure. And my fear is this ideological possession, as I call it. I'm not sure that's accurate, but for some people it is. It's like, you know, the feminists. Everywhere they go, that's all they see is oppression of
through
the
that
feminists.
lens.
Right. And I think we spend too much time talking about our differences and not enough time going, you know what? We got here together. It's not perfect. We've come a long way. We've got a lot more to do.
Right.
But guess what? We have to do it together. And it doesn't matter if you're Christian, Muslim,
green,
conservative.
Blue, pink.
Yeah. And, you know, I think a lot of the people have looked at the region and say, oh, no, you got your conservative cabal. And I know that you've been included in that tribe.
Imagine.
And you're a liberal.
And
then I get Dave Barrick here, and he goes, dude, I was like president of the Liberal Association. I don't know who would ever call me conservative. So I voted for Al Caslin for chair. Does that make me part of the cabal?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's really unfortunate that we feel we have to paste ourselves into these corners, into that tribe or this tribe or the other one. I don't do that. I try very hard not to do that, because then you lose so much. Well, you lose so many people that could be your friends who there's good in everybody. I mean, now I sound like a real do-gooder, but there is good in everybody, and everybody has a story. Mm-hmm. Every staff member I meet at the region, whether it's the cleaning woman or the commissioner, whoever it is, they all have a story. I have a story, and I just like to hear the stories, and I don't like to remember why you're there. Just tell me your story, and I can be your friend. That's what I want.
I have to remind myself all the time, you know, I've been in real estate, and I know you've got some great experience there, 25 years. And, you know, there's the agents out there were discussing a commission on my Facebook wall the other day, and I think it was Jill Price, she's up north, says, I'm surprised to see you talking about this in a public forum, with the idea that, you can't talk about commission because it's anti-competitive, because we're trying to fix prices and to say everyone take this. No, that's not what I'm doing. We're talking about selling broker commission. I talked to you a little bit about it on the phone a couple of days ago when we talked about it. Somebody chimes in, I won't say who it was, but you can look at the discussion on my Facebook wall if you want, and says, this is only one of the way that real estate agents misrepresent the public, and there's lots more. Yeah. I'm like, bro, you know what? Easy. For the most part, and I have to remind myself of this all the time, and after 25 years of getting beaten up and being screwed over by an agent or by another human being, a client or what have you, you get to that place of, like, I hate people place.
Yeah.
And I think it's really easy to default to, like, fuck this, I hate people. And
to be negative about the whole. Yeah.
And you forget that actually the opposite is true. Well, one, I don't hate people. I love people, or I wouldn't be sitting here. I love my country. I love my community, or I wouldn't be doing these silly podcasts and, you know, in a basement that looks like, it sounds good, it looks like shit.
That's right.
You know, so my passion drives me, but I have to keep reminding myself all the time that people, one, are basically good. Two, I don't hate people. It's a real bad story that I've let myself believe. And similar to you, you're talking about, you know, everyone's got a story. Most people, or a lot of people say, you know, no, people are mostly bad. They have to be taught to be good. I believe that, no, they're mostly good. They have good morals and whatever, and some drift. But for the most part, we all have good intentions. And, you know, those people that you just look at and you're like, I don't know. Like, I don't like Oprah Winfrey. I don't know who she is. Yeah, I don't know why I don't like her. She just bugs me. Her whole thing. I'm sure she's a really nice person.
Right.
But yeah, I think we have to keep coming back to that whole, no, everyone has good in them, and they all have a purpose, even if you disagree with them completely ideologically as far as what they believe, as far as politically.
And let me tell you my experience, because I was in real estate for 20 years, and before that, a teacher, and I was in academia. And so I've had a broad experience across many careers, and I found the most cutthroat of my careers was academia. Oh, really? Absolutely.
As many would say realtors are like that. And yeah, the minority are, but...
Yeah, but when I was in real estate, they were the people who understood when I spent too much of my money or didn't get that commission or that kind of thing. They were the most understanding of the human types I had met. And I find the same thing in politics. I mean, there's people that, there's a few, not many out there, who I cannot abide. I just cannot abide. Not because they're ideologically different from what I am, because they're vicious. And I don't think there's ever any reason to be vicious to a fellow human being who has a story. You don't know what they're going through in their lives, but please take time. This is the way I like to lead my life, at least. Take time and appreciate that you don't really know what that person is enduring at that particular moment.
For sure, yeah, wise words. No, you don't think that that stuff comes naturally to be vicious, and we really have to work hard to be tolerant and understanding and to see the good in people. Like it comes naturally to me. I wish
be vicious?
I think so. I think it's as simple as just going out the door or just looking at someone and going, no, not my, I don't want.
And I think that happens.
Yeah.
Just because you get that impression from a person.
And then you spend time with them and you're like, oh, I was wrong.
Right.
Like I can give you multiple cases where I looked at a guy and went,
Yeah.
and then got to know him just a little bit, and I'm like, was I ever wrong? You know, and I think, I don't know.
And when you're tribal, you miss all of that. And
Right.
that's really, really unfortunate. And if there's anything going on at the region, I think there's some people who are really, really tribal. I'm not, and the people that I consider my friends, and most of them are not like that.
Talk to me a little bit about Thundering Waters. This is, I've been a Green candidate for a long time. 93 was my first election. I was 24 years old. I knew nothing about it. Greg Vesna, the leader that I'm running again, I told you, with
Right.
none of the above party. I just want people to have that option. If they're that pissed off right now and they can't put none of the above on the ballot to vote for none of the above,
Yes.
then fine, I'll give them an option, which is recall, referendum, and reform.
Right.
So proportional representation, basically. And people didn't know what proportional representation was for the longest time. So if I can play a small role, and I met a guy on the roof of the NAC months ago that said, Jim? I'm like, no. He goes, Jim Fannon, you're at my school. I go, Secord? He goes, yeah, you won my election. The Green Party won the election at my school that year. It's the only election I've ever won.
But it was an election.
Yeah. And he said to me, and I thought it was so strange, he's a 30-plus-year-old, good-looking kid, younger guy. He goes, you touched my heart. I go, touched your heart? He's standing with his friend. Like, what an unmanly thing to say.
But he spoke his heart.
Yeah, you touched my heart. I'm like, I touched your heart? What do you mean? He goes, dude, and he went on. So if I can play a small role, and everyone, not everyone. I have a couple of the haters out there. You probably know who they are. That says, oh, well, you're just looking to get attention for yourself. I'm a realtor. I can have my name in the paper every weekend if I want for open house, and I did for 20 years. No, I like being part of the process. I like giving people an option. And if I can help one person learn that there's a better way of doing things, then great.
Right.
So, 1993 was a long time ago, and I'm still an environmentalist. I hate the word, I'm still a feminist. I don't think that discrimination is cool. I just don't think we have a whole lot of it now. Right. And anytime I have one of these feminists on the show, and I said, give me an example of how we oppress women and minorities now. Give me one law, give me one company that does it, and I'll fight to the death to prevent it from happening. They're like, oh, it's systemic.
Oh, right.
No, because we're not oppressing women. We did for a long time.
Yeah.
Women were also happy doing what they were doing back then. I'm not so sure they're happy now out in the...
Yeah, exactly. How far have we come right now?
Yeah, and we've got a long way to go. So, I've lost my train of thought. Thundering Waters, yeah, because I am still that greenie. I'm still that left-wing wacko activist. I don't march in very many parades and demonstrations anymore. I get it, though. And I see these people that are obviously suffering with some sort of mental illness coming to the lectern last night and saying, I need this place for my mental health. I need to walk in here and be chill. And it helps me with my depression. It helps me with my mental health. I'm sensitive. I never walk through Thundering Waters. You could barely drive there right now if I wanted to. I don't even know where it is, but I have a soft spot in my heart for, and I've been guilty of, Jim's coming on in July. He's going to talk to us a little bit more about it. I got a soft spot for the endangered species, for the wetlands, for paving stuff over, for, and I say this probably maybe unfairly, or people may not think it's unfair to say that, you go to China and you sell your soul to the Chinese so they can come over and take the profit and leave. So I'm surprised, not surprised. You're a hell of a strong woman, and I knew that the first time we spoke at Sessions on the River. I wasn't ready for you to say, "What do you mean? The hiring committee said it was good. I voted for him." What are you kidding me? And I was like, "What?" And we'll talk about this, the image, the PR problem that the region's got too. But talk to me a little bit about how we secure the confidence of the people that don't want this thing to be paved over, or even not paved over. They don't even want anything built up beside it with a 30-meter buffer. No. They talked about roadkill.
They don't even want strawberries on it, or fruit trees. Mm. See, that's
it's not good farmland, anyways, right?
Well, it was a farm.
Oh, at one time.
Until the hydro dumped all the rock on it from the canal.
Right. So there's a
lot of detriment there. There's a lot of garbage, but it's a beautiful location, really. But it was zoned industrial, so we could have put a factory there with no problem.
So the only problem you're having now is rezoning it or repurposing it. You're going from industrial. Is it industrial now?
It was zoned industrial. They, I think in 2006 they rezoned it into residential.
Right, that's right. Okay.
But now it's going to be
2008. I think they said. Yeah.
2008.
Yeah, right.
Now I think it's going to be a mixed use. So it's development holding, which is, let's see what your plans are. But there's 27 conditions that they have to meet. But going back to preserving what we have, my information is, and this is from the planning experts and from the report, the forest is dying. The wetlands are endangered because there's so much garbage in them that they will not survive. We have a person in GR Holdings who was a minister in the Chinese government who was responsible for the environment. So she has done this around the world in several different places, these projects of hers, and she's well known for preserving wetlands, for preserving the environment. We're not the only ones in the world who have wetlands. I was so proud of Joyce Morocco last night because she stood up and said, "Don't talk about China like that. I've been there."
Well, yeah, because there was one Chinese, Mr. Chow, will come out, and he said the Chinese, they come in, they take all the money, and they go home, and this is, what do you say, a cultural invasion?
Yeah,
it's his own culture.
And she can't even talk English. I was really put out by that. This cultural stuff has got to stop. Why can't we have Chinese investors here? Why are all Chinese bad? How bad can she be? She's been at it for 3 years. She spent $30 million. To me, that says she's not fly-by-night. She has a real vested interest, or she wouldn't be here. Capital can go anywhere. But she stayed. But she stayed. So I understand the environmentalists, but when it gets extreme, when you think agriculture is a blemish on the environment, sorry, I beg to differ.
Well, back in the day when the agricultural revolution started, there was probably many people going, "Wow, you're going to clear cut the whole forest so you can put wheat on it? Are you nuts?"
Yeah, you mean people are not going to be hungry because we're going to feed them?
So there's a delicate balance. You compare it to the rainforest or what have you. They're doing the same in South America now that we did, 100 years ago almost.
And we're not Texas here. We have zoning regulations, bylaws that are very, very strict. I mean, you go to Texas, and Wayne Campbell said something about Texas last. I'm putting these names out there because it was a public meeting, and it's all there. Yeah. So they had flooding there because they had used their wetlands badly.
And too much runoff from the heavy rains.
Too much runoff. But you know what? That's not happening here. And as Jane Pepino said, yes, up to, I think she said 1980 or something, 64% of our wetlands have been lost. But since that time, only 4% more. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping, Jim, truly, that a good developer, and I believe GR is a good developer, will preserve those wetlands. Like there's 450 acres or something. They're developing 120. The rest have to be preserved. If they touch those, they're gone. Their money's done. They are done. So I try to appreciate that everybody thinks they're an expert.
Passion gets in the way. Passion, you know, who is it says? Facts don't care about your feelings.
Jane Pina was very clear about that last night. She said, I heard
she's well-spoken.
Well, come on.
Well-researched.
She's an amazing woman. And she was right on. She took them on, and I think she did a very good job of doing that. I appreciate that they are passionate, most of them. Some of them are not. Some of them are doing political campaigns.
You think some of them are politically motivated?
Oh, Jim, you don't think so?
Some of them.
I mean, and I don't, We're not Toronto, we're not Markham. We're not the region of York, where they're trying to keep developers out because they have so much development, so many jobs, they don't know what to do with them. Travel the streets of our cities, St. Catharines, Niagara Falls, Welland, Thorold, and you will see that not everybody is making that, you know, they're not on the sunshine list. Our families are making $20,000, $30,000 a year. They're just getting by. And we need jobs. We need development here. There might come a day when we have too much of it, and then, okay. But this is not unbridled development. 27 conditions, and at any time we can pull it. Really? Sorry, that's my take.
Yeah. I appreciate your take on it, and I just wonder how we resolve. I mean, I guess maybe it's the minority of people. Emily did say she's got 4,000 signatures on the preserve the wetland thing. I'm not sure how many people actually do the research. Like, what's this all about? How much is going to be left? How much, you know, there's propaganda probably on both sides of it. I would think
on both sides, of course there is. Yeah. And not just on one side, on both. And I absolutely agree with you. But I look at, I live with 4 teenagers. 2 of them are Brazilian exchange students, and 2 of them are my grandchildren. So 14, 16, and 18-year-old boys, they're all in high school, and a 17-year-old girl, brother and sister from Brazil. And they are so stressed about their future. You know, my 2 grandchildren are
Where's their future going to be, in North America or
they don't have
home?
any. They could be anywhere.
Oh, okay. So they're here for an education?
They're here for an education because there's no future for them in Brazil. Because the government system is so bad, there really is no...
Lots of places in South America are really suffering with the government.
They are. So Jose has been accepted at the University of Barcelona, and he will be attending there.
Wow.
He has dual citizenship. He is fluent in Spanish, English, French, and Portuguese, being Brazilian, okay? So the world is their oyster, and the stresses on them are just absolutely remarkable. And I want my grandsons, who are on the Dean's honor list and all the rest of it, I want them to have a job at Niagara.
That'd be nice.
I don't want them to have to leave here. So that's part of the story as well.
Yeah, and it's a great story, and one that's been far too, I don't know, propagated. You know, this idea that there are no jobs in Niagara. If I hear that one more time, it's mostly media sources. Yeah, the electorate and the population maybe has that opinion, but it's we go out of our way to say, yeah, there's nothing here,
it's
guys.
So negative.
Yeah,
and we don't have to be
like that.
I have 6 grandchildren. 4 of them are old enough to be out on their own. A 30-year-old grandson who has an amazing job. He's a foreman. He belongs to a union. He's doing very, very well, thank you. He owns 3 houses. He will be in Niagara forever. His brother's at General Motors. He's not as crazy about his job, but he's a guy who, if he has a dime, he saves 9 cents. He has 3 houses. I mean, they're doing very, very well. I have a granddaughter, beautiful, beautiful girl, 25 years old, and she cleans houses for a living and loves it. Mm-hmm. And one at Brock, and then the two boys that are at Niagara Christian College. So, yeah, there's a lot of opportunity here, but we have to be able to say as the grown-ups that, yeah, we want you to stay here. This is where we want you to be in Niagara.
Speaking about the media a little bit to me, I think that obviously I think they could do a better job as promoting and maybe a little less biases. Do you feel like these guys have, kind of, it seems very personal, many of these articles. And, one reporter, columnist in particular, I guess, is probably, in my mind, more guilty than anyone else of it is. But
very partial. Yeah,
it seems like some things get buried. This bridge thing, I mean, I went over it again today. I can't, because I asked Sandy and I asked Dave Barrick when he was here.
Sandy Nunziata.
Yeah, I asked him, is there anyone in that report that's still employed by the region? Sandy said, good question. Well, you don't have to read very far to figure out, and I made the calls, there's still at least 3 people that are named in that report as, ignoring conflict of interest rules. I didn't know. Yeah. I wasn't supposed to hire my friend who used to be a vendor.
Yep.
And I talked to Dave Barrick about this. I have a real problem. I used to hate on Dave Barrick because he seems like he got a really good job, maybe nefariously. He sat on the board. He had inside knowledge. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Give me the job. It helps. I can't believe there's not a law that stops people from being hired with the organization that they sit on the board of directors. So Dave Barrick is one. I've come around on him because when he talks about code of conduct, when he talks about integrity commissioners, when he talks about things that are important to me, even Bart Maves, the guy never stands on a point of order that's wrong. He knows his stuff. You can't argue with that stuff. So when somebody comes in ideologically in my camp, which has changed a lot, being a lefty from 93.
Good for you.
I'm swinging right way more than I ever thought I would. And then Carmen, we talked about it briefly. He was on the board. He took a leave of absence. He takes a contract to restructure the organization. He applies for the CAO's job. What do you know? He gets it. Well, and you were just plain as day about it. And I wasn't prepared for you to be so frank and go, what do you mean? I wasn't on the committee. The committee recommended him. I'm a councillor. I go, okay, the committee knows best. I'm like, I didn't have an answer for you. I felt a little steamrolled because I thought, I'm gonna get you on this one. Sandy, same thing. He's like, what? It happens all the time. Sometimes the guy that sits on the board is the most knowledgeable for the CAO's
He's the
position.
best guy for the job.
But it looks bad. So how do we stop? Now we got a position, deputy CAO in St. Catharines, that was created for one guy. I like the guy. I don't even want to name him.
Great guy.
I have nothing against a great job. But when you hear on the street, and I'm no political, I have contacts. I got them in City Hall. I got them at the region, both political and staff. They're not deep, but deep enough to give me and when you see a councillor on the street and he goes, oh, don't even worry applying for it. It's so-and-so's job. It breaks my heart. And I just can't believe that, Walter can stand there and go, no, we want an investigation in the hiring of Carmen, but his chosen one that he created a position for and that some really competent people competed for were basically told, don't worry about it. You never get that job. And then the guy that was rumored to get the job gets the job.
Imagine that.
If it looks bad, it's bad. And I don't understand.
Which isn't to say that wasn't the best thing to happen in the city of St. Catharines. But then don't throw stones.
Have retention. You gotta have retention. You got to keep your people. He went here. He came back, and maybe they figured.
But don't throw stones.
Well, I just got a problem with the whole. I agree completely. You can't just selectively say, "Well, Carmen's bad because of the way he got this job, and someone leaked it." But over here, don't look over here because we created the position. There was no deputy CEO for how long? And they want to bring the guy back. I got it. Retention, talent, keep it at all costs. We want good people under the tent. But, and you are right from the standpoint of throwing stones, but it looks bad. So the guys like me that aren't political, that would like a nice $130,000 job that I'm not qualified for, or, I want some inside help. I want to get some listings because I know some people or what have you. I think truly, and most people won't admit this, they're jealous. They're envious that they're not the chosen one. And
absolutely.
so
And
if they stand back and they look at it and they go, oh, that reeks. I want that guy. He moved from the NPCA and he went over here and all these guys. And now we hear who some of these candidates were. They're talented people. They had way more experience than Carmen did. I'm not saying the same for the deputy position.
But that's not saying that they would understand Niagara, that they would be good for Niagara. Carmen, and this is what I know about Carmen, did a great job designing the EMS system in Hamilton. I mean, a great job. I happen to have a neighbor who is global with EMS systems. He said he admires Carmen more than any other leader he's ever worked with because he's so skilled. You know what I say, Jim? Maybe if he were a foot taller.
A little better looking.
and his name didn't end with an O.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Don't tell me that still doesn't exist. Look on Facebook.
Yeah?
I come from Cape Breton. Okay? For generations with an Italian last name. Uncles that were in concentration camps in the Second World War. From very cold Cape Breton, where we weren't allowed to burn coal during the war. English people could, of course. If you had a Scottish last name, it was fine. So, and that stuff isn't dead. You asked me about tribalism and racism and all the rest of it.
Nepotism.
Nepotism. None of it is dead. But that's what I say about Carmen. A foot taller. His name is Angel, not Angelo. I wonder what the difference it would make. But I don't have to wonder because I know.
You don't think it's more that people just think he got his job through nefarious means?
Sorry, no, I don't.
What do we do about the image problem then? Because we certainly have, this hasn't stuck to Barrick because he got reelected with this cloud hanging over him. D'Angelo, well, he doesn't have to be reelected, but he's there, and we'll see how good a job he can do. I don't know if he's been failing or succeeding now. I know a lot of people that say he's doing a great job over there. I couldn't tell you.
You know why he's doing a great job? Just let me tell you that for one moment. Like, I'm not sitting there and thinking, oh yeah, he's really nice, so he must be doing. No, we never had internal controls at the region.
And that was pretty obvious through many CAOs.
Burgoyne Bridge, I'm so proud that we did Burgoyne Bridge, that we did spend the money on those audits. We know about documentation. We know about poor process. We had no internal controls. We now have a whole department called ICOPS.
Which stands for?
Internal Control and Organizational Performance. And boy, Mache, I forget his last name, is doing, Jerzek, I think, is doing that. Amazing reports, absolutely amazing. Carmen did that. And he's only been there, 2 years, 2.5 years?
Do you think this will stop the chair from coming in? Because, when we had Debbie Zimmerman was a chair, I thought she did a pretty good job. But again, I was totally naive back then. And the only reason I started looking at local politics is because when I started looking at, somebody said, Jimmy, are you kidding me? Name off the Liberals, the chair, the mayors, the couples, the staffers that they hired. They're all from the same. And now we get a change at the guard. And now the Liberals learn I can't believe you're a Liberal. But the Liberals are pissed off now because they've lost control of the chair's office. They've lost control of all these main staffers. And I wonder if this ICOPS or what have you, I'm not familiar with it, is it going to stop the new chair and the new CAO from bringing all their people in? Because as soon as you get a new mayor, all of a sudden, well, he doesn't want the baggage left over from the old mayor's CEO, so they hire a new one.
But that isn't true with this regime. That's true with all regimes. And that's really unfortunate, unless you have someone who is idealistic enough, not tribal, and not ideological, but idealistic enough to say, no, it's got to be the best man for the job. It's got to work for all of the residents of Niagara, all 450,000 of them, not for just a few. I mean, yeah, we need somebody like that. And I have people in my head that I think, they should be running the region because they're really, really good. But it's very rarely happened in the past.
So if there's something to be done, then what would that be? If we're talking about the perception of nepotism, like you got the job unfairly because you knew someone, or the perception that, oh, well, they're all this conservative cabal now, you know, if it's perceived that way, very much it's the reality for everyone that believes that.
I understand.
And you might believe differently because you're there, and maybe you have a different opinion, or maybe you have different facts that you have access to that the general public doesn't. But I think we got a PR nightmare in this place.
It is a PR nightmare. The other part of that, speaking of human nature, it's always so much easier to be negative than to be positive. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's not because they have
I know that very well.
Right. That's just...
But find nature. Anyone to admit that.
Yeah. Communication is critical. And difficult. And I don't think we've done a very good job with that. Mm-hmm. But I think from the moment Al Kazan was elected chair, and I made the motion, because I believed in him, and I still do, game over. Something's got to be up here. What do you mean? We've had control for 41 years. All of a sudden, it changes. So it's not liberal and conservative, or the conservative cabal or the liberal cabal. It's the old guard and the new guard.
You're not the only one to say that. That's saying
Move over.
I said the same thing.
Move over, baby, because it has to change. Mm-hmm. Enough of doing things. Where did it get us to do things for 45 years in the old way? It didn't get us very far, Jim.
You're a fan of term limits, then? I think we should put them in. If you could waive your wand municipally, I know it's the Ontario Elections Act or the Municipals Act, and that's controlled by the province. And the province has had no testicles
that's
as
what
far
elections
as
are
changing
for.
anything goes.
Those are term limits. I mean, I've had an experience where people said, sorry, Selina, your term is over. Not for things that weren't true, but that's what happened, and that's what happens. But no, we have term limits, and they work very effectively. Thank you very much.
So you don't think anything outside of that, you know what, you can run 3 terms and then you have to sit one out and come back, or what have you?
Vote me out.
Mm-hmm.
Because
sometimes when I see some of the guys mostly stand up at the region, or some of the girls that never say a word, I'm like, you've been here in this institution for 3 decades, and you don't know how to speak to emotion. You don't know when it's on the table and how to split an item, or I don't know it inside and out Robert's Rules of Order or whatever you use for your order over there.
But that's our language.
I'm looking at these guys, I'm going, you've been there for decades, bro, and you're standing up and you look like a deer in the headlights. You look completely lost. And that's when I go, man, I wish we had term limits. I wish this guy wouldn't keep getting reelected on his name.
But why is he getting reelected? Because people are voting for him.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Name recognition?
Well, name recognition.
Popularity?
People like him. People want
I
him
like
there.
him too, but I just can't believe that he doesn't know the answers.
Sorry.
There you go.
Anyway,
my friend
I'm pretty
Serena's
strong.
a little passionate over heat.
I'm from Cape Breton. I can be passionate.
Wow. Now, I know this isn't a secret when I called you the other day, and thank you for taking my call. I don't know what it says when I call in, maybe Team Niagara or Jim Fannon, but you're Selina speaking. I'm like, wow. I expected to get your, hey,
I take
Jim
all
Fannon.
calls if I'm there and the phone rings.
Now, 77 years old, that surprised me. Wow. I know that's not a secret. I'm not trying to out
No,
you,
that's not a
it was
secret.
one of the first things you said to me. Jim, I'm 77 years old, and I just filed my papers to have my re-election campaign
And I'm
started.
happy about that.
I am too, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But
And as much as I don't believe in feminism and racism, I don't believe in ageism either.
Mm-hmm.
If I feel I have something to contribute, I put my name up. The people who want to vote for me or think I have something to contribute will vote, and those who don't won't. And it's a numbers game, right?
yeah, what are you thinking about the general election for chair? I know there's pros and cons on both sides. I'm a little concerned that you're going to have pretty deep pockets. You're going to have to
200,000 probably.
Wow. And
how do you come up with that?
I don't know, but the people that are rumored to be running, they're already campaigning, have been for a year, and behind the scenes, building their team and raising the money and stuff like that. And I've got, I kind of liked it the old way, to be honest with you. You know what? You're not directly elected, but at least the people that were elected. And I know there's pros and cons to both. And I can see how the way we did it in the past could be incestuous a little bit, because if you know someone and, there wasn't a person in Niagara that didn't know that Caslin was going to be the chair. I happened to tweet it. That got me blocked. I think me and Al have made up a little bit. I saw him in Zares a few months ago. I said, you know what? Sorry, bro. Because, he
I
said...
don't know anything about that.
No, he said something about... he said it from the chair. Oh. He said, you know what? This term, we've got more done than any other term ever has ever done. And I said, Al, I clipped it and tweeted it. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, sorry, but I think you probably didn't mean what you said. But you said it, and it's so wrong, and I couldn't not tweet it out. So I said, sorry, but...
Yes.
And we all misspeak, and especially when the cameras are rolling, it's easy to get it wrong.
But you know what, Jim, as a politician, you have to have a thick skin, too. Fair enough. If I were thin-skinned, I should not be in this business.
Fair enough.
And I know there's people out there that...
Even just the campaigns take your skin off.
Oh, yeah.
They're ruthless.
People feel they can say anything. Our security guard...
Even if you're a Green Party guy, they come out. Not so much, but you imagine if you're a front runner and you got the whole other party that's gunning for you at every debate that you go, well, you've been there, so you stand for the red team. The blue team's coming out and forced, getting paid $50 to take up chairs.
People that I have known all my life, when I walk into a room, turn their backs on me. This is what politics do. I have never done that to another human being, and I never will. That is... But anyway, you asked me about an elected chair. Mm-hmm. So it was an administrative position more than anything. It was not political, because the only way it was political was with your peers electing you, right?
Right.
And your peers represented people. It's like this.
You don't even vote on every issue, do you? Do you only break ties as a chair?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
He's like the Speaker of the House, or he was. But now we're going to have a mayor of mayors. So instead of having 12 mayors, now we've got 13 with one super mayor.
Do you think the mayor should be taken off?
I won't. That's something I won't comment
on. It's obviously a conflict of interest. They're working in a dual capacity, and
it's very difficult.
They vote in blocks. They trade airports away. You vote for this. You vote for my airport over here. I'll vote for your airport.
How come when I say I won't comment on something, I always do? Because you're good, Jim. You're just good. No, I think that, we would go from a council of 30 to a council of 18. I don't think that's a bad thing. But...
you don't think that's a bad thing?
No.
Right.
I think it's an unwieldy group at this point. But that's not for me to decide. It's been like that way for 45 years. But now with an elected chair...
Thank you, Bill Davis.
Thank you, Bill Davis.
The greatest premier ever!
Well, he was very good.
It was way before my time.
Not before mine.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it's going to further the interests of the residents of this region. That's where it is for me.
Okay. Cool. Staying with governance, we've had... have we wasted a lot of time at the region this term, eh? Dual direct, integrity commissioners, integrity reports. This is not this is our politics. We're going to talk about nudies being emailed out about being called plastic face. And Mayor Dave came on. He was very diplomatic, careful. I like Dave. I like a lot of people. I'm not so fond of the ones that never freaking speak.
Yes,
I wonder what the hell they're doing there. But maybe you're right. Maybe the ones that never get up and never speak or never have anything of value to say on anything. Maybe they won't be reelected next time. But the governance issues that came in, this double direct, the code of conduct. Oh, geez, I loved what you did with the code of conduct. I was glad it wasn't accepted, because for me, there was a whole bunch of things in it. I cannot believe that if you get an integrity complaint against you, that there's not even a simple registered mail that needs to be signed for it, so you have one.
It's terrible.
It's ridiculous. And using it as a political tool...
It is a political tool.
And,
and that was Bart Maeve's point all the way along. It's going to be
And
political.
I want to hate Bart Maves. I really don't want to like the man, but he's earned my respect from the standpoint that he never rises on a point of order that isn't educated and bang on. And I got a lot of time for guys like that.
Yep.
And when it came to the code of conduct, I found myself siding with Selina Volpatti, Tony Quirk, Bart Maves, Dave Barrick. Like I'm big enough to go, yeah, hell right. Yeah, you're right on that one. And, I don't even like you, and you're right. You're working on me. So I think we've wasted a lot of time on this governance issue. And, in the beginning I was saying about Walter, good for you. Good for you that you're like, hey, province, we just want to try this out as a test. Like, that's crafty. For a neophyte, first term, for him to have the political savvy to try and wiggle that through, even though I was totally against it. In the beginning, I didn't know what I was. I'm like, oh, I don't know. How does it affect my life? But then it's less politicians. It's less access. It's, more room for corruption. I don't know. And I was on the docket or the agenda of 12 communities. I was going around with this double direct roadshow, and I was speaking against it. I've never done that.
Okay.
I was so against it, and it died in St. Catharines, as you know. So I wonder if, removing the mayors is another governance tweak. That I think would have a lot of merit in some places. A lot of people might say, well, no, that's what I'm there for. I want to believe that you are there not representing Niagara Falls, representing the region. And I think your oath probably says that. I'm here to make sure that every decision I make is good for everyone in the region. Yes, I was elected in Niagara Falls, but I'm not here. And Dave Barrick, I was surprised. He was so forthright about saying, you know what I'm there for? I'm there to get for my city, Port Colborne. And I was like, wow. Yeah. Cool, but...
Yeah, but getting for your city should never be done at the expense of everybody else in the region.
Yeah, and I think Dave would say that that's never
absolutely.
been the case.
And I know Dave would say that. I have great respect for David Barrett. No, but the mayors are in a different situation. They're head of council. They have to represent their council. I go to the Niagara Falls council meetings not to represent what council, just to understand where they're coming from, so that I can make an informed decision on behalf of all the residents of Niagara when it comes time to do so. That's how I feel about it.
I wish I had the time to add up the things that I consider to be a waste of time. You must just be outside of your mind, sitting there sometimes going, are you kidding me? We're going past 11 o'clock again on this?
I know it's very hard to take sometimes. I mean, I'm a very capable woman. I have 4 children, 6 grandchildren. I've run a household and done a lot of things in my life with a couple of careers and all the rest of that. And to waste time like that is not in my nature. However, I work with 27 men, and they seem to have that proclivity.
One of my favorite words, proclivity. My new favorite word. Since we talked about the bridge a little bit, it's surprising to me to see that all along council was updated. Oh, we're going to 50 million from 36, and now we're going to 60. Does
we weren't
updated. Read the reports, or?
I read every report.
What was it, buried or?
It was taken out. All the numbers were taken out.
Oh. Now, how much can you talk about this? What's your feeling on why and who? And I mean, this is going back a couple terms, and now. I mean, I
was there 2010 to 2014.
Okay.
We made the decisions about Burgoyne. I was implicated in that just as much as everybody else. But in my defense, and the defense of the rest of the councillors that were there, if you're given bad information, you can't make good decisions.
Amen.
If the costs were getting out of hand, and nobody said, the costs are getting, there are comments like, the pressures are building. Well, what's that? Something to do with the, what's in the ground? Groundwater, whatever it was. But, and we were told at the Taskforce meeting the other day, numbers were taken out. They were just omitted. So I've learned a lot from the exercise, and I bounce back and forth.
Are you taking heat from being the chair of the committee?
Oh, yeah.
Lots yes, you would be.
Especially from St. Catharines.
Political heat. Only now that you've asked for missing emails?
Yeah, right.
So now, the email that only went public when you, obviously, after you found out that there was something wrong. There wasn't any knowledge, or wasn't anything to talk about before that. So now we find a year of corrupted and a year
The
of
municipality has a fiduciary responsibility to keep track of those emails. We have them 2008, 2009, 2010, 2013, 14, 15, but not 2011 and 12, when all those decisions were made and the whole project was going double.
So why would Sendzik be so defensive, like you're not going to find a smoking gun? Well, if we don't find the freaking emails, of course we won't find a smoking gun, but maybe there's a smoking gun in there. Like, that just reeks to me. You know, I want to like Walter. I just find it very difficult because I know his ways, and I've had experiences with him on a number of different topics, and I just know the treatment that I've received from it. So that's why I ran for mayor, because I didn't want him in that chair, and that broke my heart. And he's there, and I can, grin and bear it now. But like, I don't get what he's so defensive now. How does he know there's no smoking gun?
All I will say is that people will have to draw their own conclusions from that.
Too bad. We have many people that are not in their roles anymore. Staffers, elected, mayors, regional councillors, and city councillors that probably have an idea what went down and might have a thumb drive with all those email on it.
Oh, imagine that.
Rumors are filthy. But the amount of time that someone says don't apply for that job because it's so-and-so's and they get it, or the amount of time that says, oh yeah, so-and-so's got a thumb drive with all the email on it, and then it turns out to be true, or they just reappear, I find it amazing.
So you know more than I do now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that I know anything other than I know there's been a lot of talk about who could be responsible for this, and not many of them are sitting anymore. Not many of them are elected officials anymore.
We have a new administration.
Some staffers have gone from the region to the city or another town or aren't even in the...
There's an Italian saying, my husband used to say it all the time, we're like beans in a pot. We just keep going round and round. That's okay. I don't mind that. What I really mind is dishonesty and malfeasance and trying to pull the wool over the residents' eyes, because people are very smart that way, and they smell what's the word I'm looking for?
A rat.
They smell a rat.
And if it looks like shit, it smells like shit, usually it's shit. And so I give you a lot of credit for one, chairing that committee. I haven't watched a whole lot of it until this started making news. I find it concerning that 610 CKTB is running promos of Walter saying, there's nothing to see here. There's no,
Sounds Trumpian.
It just, and I took Tom to task on this live on the air the other day when I called for my Vox Populi. I said, he says there's no smoking gun. Well, who ordered the email destroyed or corrupted? Somebody's got it. What? That's not an accident. That doesn't happen at a city that with this many people and staff and experts.
130,000 people. I don't know what their budget is.
I don't believe
a few million. No, but it's not my place to cast aspersions either. People have, it's with the OPP. And
they're interviewing. Have you been interviewed?
Yes.
Okay. So you've given them everything you know?
Everything I know.
Yeah, because I know they're this is a wide net they're casting.
They're casting a very wide net. I'm very pleased with what they're doing. And I hope they continue, because our hopes rest with them. We have no other way of getting to the truth if evidence has been destroyed or forgotten or whatever it's happened.
And, the amount of times that bridge report by Deloitte said we can't go any further because we're not the police. I don't know how many times they said that in that report.
And that's when Bart said, well, they're telling us something, Selina. You know what I mean? Thank God I work with really smart people.
It helps. And
we're a team.
Yeah, and you all have your proclivities for your specializations too. Like you're good at some things that Bart won't be, and so you complement each other nicely.
Absolutely, and that's what the workplace is all about. Any workplace, but government as well as any other. We're there to help each other, to help those people who are paying our way.
Right.
And God knows they pay a lot.
Yeah, the taxpayer, the ratepayer, the electorate is at all levels, federal, municipal, provincial, regional. It's an endless, like the politicians look at the ratepayer as like they have an endless pit of money. There's just, taxes only go one way.
Yep.
You know, and you can blame it on inflation, or you can say, I wonder if there's some inefficiencies here we can get rid of.
Absolutely. You know, we have to look at those. We can't keep doing the same things all the time, expecting different results. Mm-hmm. We have a magnificent, I call it software magnificent, new software system at the region called PeopleSoft. $12.9 million it cost, 2-year deployment on it. But we got an audit report from Deloitte that we just received in committee, audit committee, going to council. Not one remark that was untoward in it. Just a perfect audit report. As I said to the auditor, this is very boring, because it was.
Oh, that's God, what right? You want.
And so we don't get a return on investment in the traditional sense. Mm-hmm. But one of the big things for me has always been zero-based budgeting. You don't start from last year's, you know.
Oh, we got to spend it. It's the end of the year. Let's spend
right.
this $100,000.
You start from zero. Now,
right.
Tell me why you need each of these. You can only do one small department at a time until you get up. I mean, you could never start.
It's labor intensive. You need lots of people for that.
But now, before we couldn't do it because we just didn't have the information available to us to do it. But now with PeopleSoft, it's all there.
What if you could wave your magic wand and change a couple things? What are some recommendations you have for our local, well, whether it's at the city or more specifically the region, I guess, you know, things that just aren't working that you see as a simple fix? Like, obviously, it was, you know, something that you could do that would prevent that from ever happening again. Obviously, we've got a PR issue. Public relations.
PR, yeah.
Huge. And that's on us. We've created that as a council or as a leadership. I mean, you're not just going to say, oh, well, we got a PR and it's the media's fault. I mean, the media will say, and we said this before, we'll stop doing stupid things and we'll stop reporting them. You know, so they have a point there. But
I would say stop wasting time navel gazing and get down to business. Mm-hmm. Bring jobs to this area. Increase immigration because our future lies in immigration. We're supposed to grow from 450,000 people, which we are now, to 610,000 in 2041. Supposed to. That doesn't happen, 2041. That doesn't happen as a matter of course. We have to plan for it. We have to want it. We have to be willing to accept people of different backgrounds, cultures into our neighborhoods. And if we don't, we won't grow.
Then you need the infrastructure and the support mechanisms to support that extra population too.
Absolutely. Hospitals, but the population, schools, I think, comes first. And then, you know, I know in Florida they build the infrastructure and then it's kind of
and people come afterwards.
As far as I'm concerned. But, when you get the population, you get the jobs, you get the infrastructure because you get the growth in revenue, right? Mm-hmm. But, stop wasting time. Start spending our money wisely. And remember, it's opium, other people's money, not ours.
Do you think we should have a code of conduct that's like clear right across the province and that one that conforms to the charter? I'm surprised it doesn't. And what? Andy went down this road. I was on his jock for a little while because I thought he was onto something. And, well, Andy has a way of blowing things up anyway.
He's a great guy. But
I have a lot of time for a guy who'll go, this reeks, this smells, this looks bad.
He's got a good nose.
He puts a big bright light on it. We saw the insurance thing. He was lead on that. The landfill, he was lead on that. Got a lot of shit for that. They accused him of like all kinds of things. Some of the CEOs, some of the hiring practices, like he's been a valuable resource for them.
He has.
Now he's made his own bed, but I've got a lot of time for a guy like Bob Gale that goes to the MPC and says, "This is all rigged."
Love Bob.
Made of the mist. Like I love that kind of stuff. So, you know, but when the code came in, when Andy fought the code, I'm like, I see value in this fight. Because if the code doesn't specifically say when you're a councillor, it's funny that conveniently Andy's a councillor when they need him to.
Yeah,
and
right.
then when they don't want him to be, oh, no, you were on your own then. Like
Yeah.
the politics of convenience. But I thought he had a real good point as far as there's a charter and this code doesn't respect it. And so if anything, I went to the courthouse that time, not to support Andy, because
No.
I wanted to see how this whole played out. And I'm like, yeah, the code should respect the charter and it should set limits for, hey, if you're on a boat ice fishing or a boat ice fishing, if you're up in a boat fishing up north and you get your buddies and you tell a off-taste joke, that shouldn't come back to haunt you in Niagara because somebody said blah, blah, blah. So freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, freedom to have your own religion. I don't see any part of the code that says, Brock University's code says, subject to section
Of the charter.
Yeah. I mean,
one of the most civilized countries in the world has no written constitution, no written charter. England, right? They don't have it.
and there's many municipalities that don't even have a code of
And
conduct.
it's all based on tradition and what is expected of a decent person.
If you commit a crime, you go to jail, you can't be a councillor, obviously.
Right.
And if you're that bad, you don't get reelected.
Exactly. I'm sorry, but I like to think that as a responsible adult, I know what my conduct should be. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it all the time. I've been known to, say words I probably shouldn't say when I get a little angry. But in the heat of argument or the heat of discussion, a few words aren't going to hurt you. It's a hell of a lot better than being on the battlefield. So
And that's what it ends up in.
that's
if you
the
don't get it
alternative.
right.
That's the alternative. It's either the chamber or the battlefield. And because I use a few words that perhaps are not choice, does that mean I should be lampooned on a,
You're not getting a hard time for your language, are you, really?
I've been known once in a while. Use it.
That's, of all things, that's got to roll off your back.
Well, it does. But the fact that I could be charged with the integrity commissioner,
Oh,
that does not. I'm sorry. Even with the code of conduct, my thought is it should not be allowed for one councillor to bring a code of conduct complaint against another.
or a whole another,
Come
the
on.
whole town of Pelham voted. And I joked with Dave when he was here. I called him good old plastic face or whatever Andy called him or whatever. But there's a specific exclusion in the code of conduct that says a council shall not. And they heard it anyway.
Yeah.
And I know, I don't want this to talk about Andy all the time, but he's a pretty good example, or he brings to light how broken the system is. So he doesn't want to talk to the integrity commissioner because he thinks he's a joke. So he doesn't answer his emails. Oh, he said he didn't get them, and I guess I
Whatever.
believe him if he didn't get them or whatever. What responsibility does he have to talk to a guy that's just set up in a kangaroo court? You don't face your accuser. You never know what the complaint is. But can we have a requirement that at least says before anything happens, you need to register mail?
You notify me. Tell me what it is. It's a kangaroo
You gotta have
court.
proof that thing was delivered.
Where's the justice in that?
And that's what I didn't like about your code of conduct. I liked most of the changes that you were working on. And then everyone came, and I almost came to speak because I have some passions when it comes to this kind of stuff. And most of them lie in a democratic foundation. This is not democratic. This, at least, could we have a registered mail that goes out?
Yeah. I mean,
Signed for?
just the basic principles of justice.
And now
I
it's
guess.
still there.
Well, we have the old
Carolyn
one.
Iannone in Niagara Falls has been victim to this process as well. I don't watch Niagara Falls Council all that much. I watched it last night. I can see what side of the fence she's on as far as what she speaks to, and I can imagine that maybe she's on that NDP socialist side of things all the time, a self-declared dipper.
Yeah.
But she's also it's all good until you're the victim, and then it's like, hey, wait a second. I didn't get notice. I didn't know who the complainant was. I didn't get interviewed, and I got a judgment against me that could ruin my career.
Exactly.
I don't understand how there's not more controls in place for this kind of
and it's very, very politicized, and that's my concern and my fear. And you always get the most vulnerable that way. The people, like people we know that are most prone to saying things or have religious beliefs that other people just don't want to accept.
And it puts a target on they put a target on their own back.
And they put it
with their actions.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot of responsibility to go all the way around, but we don't, I didn't know this, but the code of conduct's not mandatory.
No.
Wow. Either is an integrity commissioner.
No.
Wow. How about we just govern ourselves?
It may be now. I think there was a change in the Municipal Act about that just recently. But we had our own code of conduct. We had a code of conduct that worked for 40 years. I never could understand why all of a sudden we were so bad.
Yeah. And you really tore that stuff up. Oh, Kelly Crosley. You know Kelly?
Kelly Crosley.
She owns a hair salon on Queen Street.
In St. Catharines?
No, Niagara Falls.
Okay.
Selina has a classy way of looking at everything.
Oh.
You need to go drop in. Get a campaign donation from her.
I must do that. Thank you, Kelly.
She's across from Taps, kind of.
Oh, right.
Yeah, on Queen Street. So she's a big fan of yours.
Well, it's not a classy way. I mean, I respect that word and I love that word about myself. It's just do unto others. It's basic. Isn't that a basic?
Well,
principle?
yes. And Pastor Bill, who I have a lot of time for, is he's a great speaker and he's a pretty wise guy. He's the pastor of my church. He tells about love your neighbor, do unto others, whatever. Same thing. Concept. Jesus spoke in parables, and a lot of it was kind of the same drift.
Right.
And I'm the skeptic. I'm like the new Christian. I'm like, what do you mean God's jealous? I thought he was sinless. They're like, oh, can I answer this one? Because I don't know. I struggle with my faith all the time. You know what I mean? It doesn't take much to go, are you really up there, dude? I grew up with it, so I have the base.
Yes.
But I struggle with it all the time. So, Bill,
and most people do, Jim.
Yeah, do they? I didn't know that.
Because it's not, you can't see it, you can't feel it, but it's there.
But I said the other day, I'm like, God, if you're there. And I told the guys.
What do you mean if?
I told the guys at my support group, they're like, oh man, we question our faith all the time. That's part of being a man, or part of being
a person.
Anyways, so Bill will say, love your brother like yourself. But I always say, dude, that's the problem with today. We don't have self-love. We don't look after ourselves. We smoke cigarettes. We drink too much. We drive too fast.
We have no time for ourselves.
Well, we just don't. There's not a whole lot of self-love. So I'm of the firm belief that if you don't have it, you can't give it. I can't give you $5 if I don't have it. Right. And if I don't have love for me, I can't certainly love you.
That's right.
And I think, it's great to say 2,000 years ago, that would have been a cool guy to walk with, Jesus. Like, whether he was the Son of Man or not was up for debate, and lots of people like to debate it. But, like, that guy was here, and he was pretty fucking cool.
Yes.
Sorry, is that bad?
No, it's not bad.
But yeah, when they break out that do unto others, I get that. And there's a little bit of room for, we don't treat ourselves very well. And no wonder we have no respect for our neighbors, because we don't have it for ourselves.
And it's all respect, isn't it? Mm-hmm. In the long run, do unto others, and all the parables or the commandments and all the rest of that is based on respect. Marriage, I was married for 52 years, and without respect, sex doesn't last forever.
Mm-hmm.
Love changes, but it becomes more respect than anything.
What do you put at the top of the virtues then?
The top of the virtues. That's a great question, because I'm a Greek scholar. That's my...
You're a which?
Greek scholar. That's my training. You too. I guess respect.
Loyalty, honesty.
But if you have respect, all those things come, I think. If I respect you, I will be loyal to you.
Fair enough.
If I don't respect you, I'll find it'll be difficult. I think that basic respect of you as a human being, as I am, with the same feelings. And in the long run, we all come with a death sentence.
But you can't respect everyone equally, nor should you.
But you can
Some people aren't
respect
worthy
their
of-
story.
Some people aren't worthy of your respect.
You can respect what they're going through and how they've come to be in the place where they are.
Mm-hmm.
That I do think. And my husband, God rest his soul, because he was a wonderful man and he put up with me for 52 years.
How long has he been gone?
5 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's not a long time.
No, it's like yesterday. But he used to say, you know what? He always called me Blackie, but that was his name for me.
And he was Italian too.
He was Italian, very Italian.
So
he was Italian.
you both full-blooded?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Did
Yes.
you come from Italy?
I came from Cape Breton.
Oh, you were born in Canada then. Was he born in Canada?
No,
He was Italian.
he was Italian from Trieste, but raised in Switzerland,
Okay.
and was a shepherd in the Swiss Alps during the war. What a story, huh?
Old school.
America.
Because shepherding wasn't the top of the heap for jobs.
Well, but they
Like
had
back in the old days, the shepherds were just like,
they had to leave northern Italy because the Germans were taking young boys like him and putting them in the army. So his parents had contacts in Switzerland and got him across the border into Switzerland by himself.
so he's broken up. Did
At
he
the
ever
age
see
of
his
10.
family again?
Never saw his mother again. She died before he ever got back to Italy.
How about the rest of the family?
He saw the rest of his family in Canada.
Oh, so they got out and then they found each other?
Yes. And his older brother came to Niagara Falls. So it's quite a story. But he used to say all the time, we all have a turn. And all of us will meet the same end. One
Yeah.
way or the other way. But we all have a turn.
And we know it's coming,
And we know it's coming.
which is part of our problem, I think. We struggle with our own mortality, I think, more
Well,
than
we
anything.
struggle not to think about that.
Yeah.
So the other guy is going through the same thing you are. How do I stay alive as long as I can, as well as I can,
Provide
and have
for my
enough
family.
and provide for my family?
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you got your papers in.
Yeah. But I wasn't the first.
No.
Wayne Thompson was there at 8:15.
God bless him, man. I don't know. I'm trying to. Well, I'm gonna get through this provincial election. Again, I'm loyal. So when Greg calls and he says we need a guy from St. Catharines, I'm like, I'm not your guy. I had a bad year in real estate last year. I told you I built this little business
Yes.
outside of real estate, inside the business, but it didn't make any money. Well, I made $500 last year, not enough to eat. I could be selling some more houses. And I said, Greg, I can't do it. I don't think my skin's thick enough. I don't think my spirit is strong enough. The last time I got beat up pretty bad running for mayor.
Yeah.
Not the campaign so much, but the result really hurt. Because I thought Jeff Birch was the guy.
Yeah. And you take it personally, right?
And you know what I hear? April Jeffs is polling really well in Welland. Can
So I
you
hear.
imagine
They
if Jeff
love
Birch
Doug Ford.
loses that one?
They love Doug
And
Ford.
Welland they were conservative before. I didn't know this.
Oh, I didn't either.
Yeah, Montgomery or who was it?
Oh, no, yeah, you're right.
was
I
it
forget.
Montgomery?
No.
But before Swartz, it was a conservative.
Yeah.
And somebody told me, are you kidding me? A factory town like Welland goes conservative for Doug Ford like that. I'm like, what? Oh, yeah. Like, not so much St. Catharines. Well, St. Catharines could too. But, factory towns like that. Blue-collar towns. Lunchbox.
Think of Ohio and Pennsylvania. Coal mines. I mean, they went Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far right as you can get.
I'm not sure that Trump's all that far right.
Well,
I'm coming around on Trump. I don't know why. I think he's a buffoon. And
It's a buffoon.
I don't think that he's got the class or the polish that you need. But he got elected. That's the number one job. If you can't get elected, and that's, I had to console myself after Birch lost for mayor because I'm honest about, I didn't want Walter there. He's there now. Fine. If I got to work with him, I will. I liked McMullen when I was there. He worked with me. They were building a 6-lane pool. Somebody recruited me and said, hey, it's the wrong number of lanes. There's 8 people in a swim class and on a swim team. We need 8 lanes. Duh. So, I had a friend of mine that called me and said, I need your political connections. I laughed at her. I said, I'm green. I got no political connections. But when I stood up in front of council and McMullen tried to paint me in a corner, and he said, well, Jim, you're a Green Party guy, right? Yeah. well, what if we got to take down 10 trees to put an extra 2 lanes in this? I'm like, you crafty bastard. But Birch stood there.
He put you on the spot.
Yeah, oh yeah, and badly, and but they got it right. And even Bill Phillips came around on it. He was the chair of the committee. And,
right.
you know, at the time, I had a couple staffers that came to me and said, we can't speak. They won't let us talk. And we know exactly what's best. So I found a home with Birch. I found a guy that would work with you, that would joke with you, that you could have a beer with. And I wasn't ideologically mirrored
right.
to his beliefs. But somebody told me the other day, you know, inside conservative, they've got the money to do the polling.
Yes.
And he said, can you believe that April Jeffs they're like neck and neck, or she's out in front? I'm like, there's no way. And then the more I talked to this guy, the more I went, oh,
really?
Can you imagine if Birch lost mayor and then lost a 40-year NDP riding? Like, man, at least you still have a job.
Politics.
But yeah, and you know, this ideological swing is Trump. It was a done deal. I'm surprised I didn't see it, because Obama was there for so long, love him or hate him. There was a lot of hope for Obama when he came in, and he did jack. There was a lot of hope for JT, Justin Trudeau, and he's fucking things up as far as I'm concerned. This virtue signaling, this.
Oh yeah, it's a little over the top.
No, and this Kathleen Wynne debacle for 15 years. We talked earlier about the sex ed thing. This idea, this possession of the left, this anti-free speech. You can't say that. That's hate speech. You can't criticize Islam. You can say whatever you want about Christianity.
Yeah, but not
Islam. You say, you know, Islam, even if it's fact. You know, in Canada, you can be sued for libel successfully for telling the truth.
There you go.
That's not my country.
No. That's what we've become.
And so you know what the political swing back for Kathleen Wynne is? A Doug Ford majority.
Yeah.
And we asked for it because we re-elected this party with a majority government.
3 times.
Well, first one was a minority, wasn't it?
I don't remember that.
Can't remember.
Okay.
But this is what happens. And you think that we're not in line for another... Doug Ford's not Trump. I hate those comparisons.
No, and that's easy, and it's
too
facile, and I shouldn't say that. But there was a reason, going to Trump, there was a reason he was elected.
Mm-hmm. It was the pendulum swinging.
And it swings.
And it takes
surely as Canadians, like in my political science classes, what I learned was we campaign from the center or the right or the left, but we govern from the center. If you don't, you're not going to be successful.
Amen.
Right?
That sounds like something Sandy said to me about getting elected. So I'm doing this because I feel like it's the right thing to do. I put my name on the ballot. I still got to get on officially. Did you know that if you're a declared candidate during an election, you can't talk to Tom on his radio show now?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I'll have to talk to other people.
He's banned all candidates. I can't even believe that. But I'm seriously, I have never, Selina, and you probably know this, you know, because I started in '93. I ran for the Greens in '93 as a favor to the same Greg Vesna that started this None of the Above party. He called and said, Jimmy, we need a candidate for Niagara Center. I'm like, forget it, man. I didn't know anything. And he said, no, we need a paper candidate. You're going to do it. You got to go out and get I think it was 250 signatures back
25.
then.
Oh, then.
Back then, yeah, 93. And we'll give you the $1,000, and you don't have to do a thing. Just go on the ballot.
Right.
And then Pete Marina from Seahow, he's still there at Giant FM, called, and he talked me into coming into the studio. Terry Sanamon was the conservative. Gibby Parent was the Speaker of the House. Yeah. He was there. Don Johnson was the NDP, and then we had this natural law party. You remember those guys? The yoga guys?
Right. Yeah, that's
right. I went for the mic. I was the first one to speak, and my voice was gone. I didn't know that that's what happened when you're that nervous.
Oh, right.
And
that does happen.
Anyways, fast forward. I've never run in a campaign that I had a shot to win as a Green Party candidate. For mayor, I wasn't running to win. I was running to prevent someone from winning. That blew up in my face. And I can live with it. You know, I would do it again. Maybe not. But And I have some supportive people that are connected, and I've been known to back financially other candidates that said to me in many elections, Jimmy, when you're serious and you're done fucking around with the Green Party and you want to run to win,
right? Then
come and talk to us. Because we'll help you out, because you're a good guy and you're good on stage, and you know your stuff, and we could get behind a guy like you. But you got to run with a party that you got a chance to win.
Right.
And my mother died 8 years ago. I can hear her from the other side going, what do you want to sit with those coconuts for? They're not all Selina Volpattis, and she would put it in context of real estate. They're not all Brad Sheehan's. They don't know the business.
Right.
So you're going to go on the board of directors and sit with these coconuts that you want to be the guy that's got too much time in their hands? Because that's what they are. They don't have a political mind. They don't have. And so for the 18,000, a year, I was watching Bart speak the other day. I'm like, what am I thinking? Because I'm seriously thinking about running for region.
Right.
Because I know there's this, Better Niagara. I know you've had some conversations with them. Again, ideological, and I think it's been hijacked politically now. I think it was a great idea when it started, but I think now maybe not so much. I could be wrong on that because I'm not involved at all.
I haven't followed it that much.
But I'm really struggling with, I care. I want to make a difference. It's not about the camera. It's not about the ink.
No.
I want to make a difference, and I feel like I have a political mind.
Yes.
And that, I hope
and here we are.
Bring some value to it. But I wonder, if I could withstand the frustration. And it takes me away from my work, too, right? Like, I should be selling houses.
It's also work, right?
Oh, yeah. And it takes me away from the work that pays.
That pays. The one that you make a living with?
$18,000 a year. Like, sell me on why I should take this jump.
Because, why? It's beguiling. I guess that's a word I would use.
Okay, explain that to me a little bit. I've heard it, but I'm not sure I'm familiar with the meaning.
It works on you in strange ways. That's what I mean.
Strange.
Because somebody calls you
evil.
And says, Selina, I need a house. I don't have any money. I owed back rent the last place I lived. I know I've been a really bad boy. Can you help me, please? And I can. It makes it all worth it.
You know what? And my mother would say, when I was down in the dumps and broke, no matter how old I was, here's $30. I want it back this time. She never got it back.
Of course.
Here's $30. I want it back this time. Now stop feeling sorry for yourself and get out there and go do something for someone else. It's not about you.
It's not about you. And politics isn't about you.
I think a lot of our politicians have forgotten that. I wonder if I would forget that too once I got there.
Not if you're open to having people come to you with their problems. Because as soon as you hear someone else's problem, you forget yourself. And you forget the fact, I didn't have applesauce today, or I forgot my breakfast, or whatever it is. When somebody says to you, I can't make the rent, or if you increase those taxes by 1% more, my wife and I are going to have to go into a nursing home, or stuff like that. And it's not that I can change the world, because obviously that's not going to happen, but one small piece at a time.
Your corner of the world, maybe.
My corner of the world. Or if I meet an immigrant from Peru and she's working at the region cleaning toilets, and I walk in and I talk to her and she says to me, I can't believe you talked to me. That makes my whole day worthwhile. And I'm not a goody-goody person or a do-gooder or anything like that. I'm very selfish. I have my own mistakes and problems in my life, but that's why I'm there. And Wayne Thompson said that to me, first council meeting I ever attended. He was my mayor.
He's a lawyer, isn't he?
No.
Okay.
He worked at the region for 28 years in public health.
Okay. Who's the lawyer at regional council? I'm getting mixed up with them.
Wayne Redicott.
Oh, okay. That's
Wayne Thompson.
Thompson. Okay, Thompson's in Niagara Falls.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he said to...
Former mayor.
Is
he the guy that stands up and says the best mayor in Niagara Falls
that's
over in front
of me?
Okay, I got
That's the one. And he was my mayor first time I got on. And
how many terms were you at city council?
I was there from 1994 to 2006.
Wow, 12 years.
Yeah. Is that 12?
94 to 06.
Yeah. 12 years.
So back then there were 2-year terms.
When I started, it was 2 years, then it went 3, and then 4.
Okay.
But I remember him saying to 3 new councillors, in my experience, the primary reason that people get into politics is because they want to be of service to the public. It's for public service. Mm-hmm. And I found that maybe a lot of them change on the way.
Maybe.
But you have to keep that. You're there to serve the people who pay your way.
Yeah, you would think there wouldn't be anyone that says, I'm going to... Well, I mean, there is a career in politics, too. I guess if you work your way up, you can get yourself a pretty good job with a really fat pension, I guess.
Oh, but maybe you work your way up and you can make more good things happen.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Oh, Selina, well, that was an hour and a half.
It was?
It was 4:24 already.
Really?
We had some people...
How could you put up with me for that long?
Oh, I think you're a great conversation. And I told everyone you steamrolled me the last time.
I steamrolled you?
I thought you did. I wasn't prepared for your strength. And you came in and I was going after Carmen and you're like, committee. I'm like, seriously? Did you just say that to me? You just, yeah. And I have a lot of time for people that have leadership and powerful personalities, and you're one of them. I don't agree with you all the time. I never agree with anyone all the time, but I get a lot of time, especially, it's good to see a woman that can stand her ground and will say, fuck no, you're not going to push me around, and I know what I'm talking about, and I'll stand here if it takes us till 3 a.m, so.
And I'll listen.
And I was really proud of what you did with the code of conduct. I was kind of glad it didn't go, but I was proud of how you tore it apart. And just watching the Liberals squeam, maybe the old guard of the Liberals, and they were squirming to a point where they were not comfortable. And that won my respect. Even Barrett kind of got my respect somehow. I'm not sure how. Tony Quirk came on, a guy I'd never met before.
Very principled.
And talks so frankly and just matter of fact. And
bright.
I thought he was pretty bright. But
David? No.
How can you... I mean, David, I joke. Yeah, I told him even the Pee Wee Hermans and the haircut jokes. But there's a lot of people that have come around, and I always like Bart. I joke with Bart. I thought Bart was going to beat Gates last time. I told Gates that. I said, that was a by-election. I think he's got your number this time around. And I remember he coming into the washroom at Club Roma, and I like Gates too. I mean, he's okay. He doesn't hold anything. I remember him coming in the washroom at Club Roma and going, "Hey, he thought I was going to lose, eh? Yeah. You told me I was going to lose. You told me Bart was going to win."
Is this thing off?
No, we're good.
Oh, we're still recording?
Oh yeah, we're on.
Great. Yeah, no, I have great respect. Tony's and I sit beside each other.
I saw that.
And I'm like his mother, right? And
his liberal mother.
His liberal mother. His liberal mother is conservative mother.
I said, well, you got to know. You got a liberal right beside you. She keeps you in check. That's what he said on my show.
We're going to a conference, so we travel together. He takes care of my suitcases. He takes care of the driving.
Well, he should.
He's very, very good to me. He's really a very, very sweet guy. Bart is, Bart and I have dates. He calls me and says, you want to go out to this? We'll go together. He comes to my door. He knocks on the door. He comes in the house. Just too much. It's over the top.
Yeah.
They're great guys.
Yeah.
A lot. What's that word again? A lot of respect.
Mm-hmm. What's you got your ear to ground for who's going to run for chair?
Well, I'm sure Al will. I mean, I'm thinking that he will.
I think he was cooked that day that Andy pressed a reply all with that nudie. Oh, no, the standard calls it porn.
Oh, porn.
I know porn. That ain't it. And I fell for it too. I said, I'm going to sign all my emails from now on with the pornographic image.
Yes.
I'm like, wait a second. I saw the image. That ain't porn.
That's not porn.
Porn's designed to arouse you, and that was not arousal.
Yeah, so I imagine that and other than that,
Dave's name's been thrown around quite a lot.
It has.
He wouldn't comment on it. Bob said he doesn't know.
Bob Gale.
Yeah, well, he's got the money, probably. If anyone's got the money and,
Yes.
and made a name for himself, you'd think he'd be one of them.
But he has a wife.
True enough. Damien Goldberg.
I've heard that too.
I just heard that recently floated. Of course, you always hear Debbie Zimmerman and whatnot, but I wonder.
I don't know.
She's got a good job. I don't see that.
Yeah. I have just no idea.
Mm-hmm. Wide open game. I'd love to do it. But I'd like to run with the platform that in 2 terms, my job will cease to exist.
Oh, right.
I'll run for chair with the idea that I want to disband the region completely.
Well,
what do you think about decentralization? Just go, make the region a service provider. We don't need governance. We don't need the mayors. We don't need the integrity commissioners, any of this crap. We can do garbage, wastewater, policing, public health, and a couple other things from a very small board of directors that just manages money.
You know what?
And services.
I like the Berkeley report. I don't know whether you've read it. It's probably 25 years old now.
A long time ago, yeah.
But it was 3 cities.
Oh, right.
And it's one that I really favor. That model I really like. Like, it was an excellent report. It was the recommendation after months of study.
Really?
Yes. So the river cities.
Right.
Niagara Falls, Fort Erie, Niagara Lake.
Makes sense, kind of.
Right. Welland, which would be all the south, Port Colborne, Wainfleet, that area.
You're going to throw Thorold in with those guys?
No, St. Catharines, Thorold is a natural fit, I think. St. Catharines, Thorold, Lincoln, and West Lincoln.
Interesting. But then we get bogged down in a governance debate.
Well,
how about Andy's motion about referenda? I loved it. Non-binding plebiscite that takes the pulse of the electorate, plebiscite, or right on the ballot every time we vote. Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? Do you want this? I'm surprised that. And he said, or no, I think Tony said, or one of the guys that came on, maybe it was Sandy, said that died just because it was Andy's motion. It was a great idea, but Andy brought it, and there were so many people in the room at that time that just wouldn't vote anything down.
And that happens although I tend not to agree with him. I don't like government by referenda. I can see some issues, like governance is probably one that I would have put there. But then how do you word a question like that? Like, that's really, really difficult. I don't know. It's not something that appeals to me.
Interesting. So status quo? We've got what we've got. It works the way it works. We'll just leave it the way it is.
But we haven't left it the way it is.
Governance-wise, we have.
Well, now we have an elected chair, and that really...
Well, that was shoved down our throats, so...
Well, but that's what I'm saying.
We probably have something else going to be forced upon us.
Some government on the way out?
Well...
Because it has to be on the way out.
We know that, Harris had his amalgamization.
And you know what Bart says about that?
Bad move.
Worst thing they ever did.
And now there's people de-amalgamating.
It's not always the answer.
It never saves any money. I'm not a one Niagara guy. I never have been. In fact, I'm the opposite. I'm decentralization. I think that we waste a lot of time and money and resources at the region that could simply be put towards. If we didn't have a governance body at the region, how much money could we save? And
it's not only all right. Money's important, and I agree with that. But it's the quality of life and how much influence you think on you that you have as an individual. Or
government in your life.
Yeah. For me, yeah. I don't know. I like the Berkeley report. I always have. I think at some point at the region, we're going to have to come to terms with it. We might have to waste a whole term on it.
Wow. Well, hopefully we'll be gone by then. Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. You. Good handshake, too. Selina Volpatti.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate your interest.
All right. Yeah, I can't look away.
And I wish I would run for the region.
I simply can't. Well, somebody's going to have to sell me a little harder on that.
Well, look at the wonderful life I lead.
That's not it. That's not going to do it for me.
It won't.
I love you, but that ain't going to do it.
That doesn't cut it.
All right. I'll turn these things off. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're out of here.